Another is the belief that hot beverages and alcoholic drinks are internal cleanser for COVID-19, thereby leading to excessive consumption of these drinks.
The use of local concoctions as treatment for COVID-19 are yet to be scientifically proven. However, there has been several theories about the efficacies of these concoctions. We should stay safe and denounce all manner of fake news and misleading information on COVID-19.
For medical advice, go on the WHO website, Nigeria Center for Disease Control NCDC website, or stick with the advisories from the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 or other authentic official sources. NTA is one of them.
I'm a Nigerian.
Hello, I'm Comfort Amodu. Welcome to the news at 7. But first, the headlines. President Buhari approves implementation of second phase of national response on COVID-19 for another 4 weeks. House of Representatives rates President Buhari's second tenure high, takes nation building as joint task. And Minister of Finance justifies 5.5 billion naira external loan request to make implementation of 2020 revised budget feasible. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari has been formally notified of the extension and desire by the governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, to seek re-election for a second term of office under the platform of the APC. This is when the governor paid him a courtesy visit to solicit his support as the leader of the governing party. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the rest of the story.
Governor Godwin Obaseki was in the State House to present his expression of interest form to President Muhammadu Buhari in respect of the forthcoming Edo State governorship election.
As a father of a country, as our president, you just should not assume or take things for granted. I just had to formally come to inform him and solicit his support in my gubernatorial bid. The president was quite warm, was quite welcoming. When I showed him my expression of interest forms, he looked through it and he teased me that he will not have to go through this again, and wished me good luck and assured me of his support.
APC governors, under the auspices of the Progressives Governors Forum, had earlier endorsed Governor Obaseki's re-election bid ahead of the governorship primary election scheduled for this month.
We believe that because of the connection which we have created with our people, we have no doubt in our mind that we will win any elections, direct, indirect, general elections in Edo State. We cannot turn back the hands of the clock. So there are certain things we just must accept and see how we can move forward. Whatever it will take to have peace, whatever it will take not to lose lives in Edo, I am committed to.
Governor Obaseki, who also discussed with the president efforts at containing the coronavirus pandemic in the state, told newsmen that he will do whatever it takes to ensure that the killers of the University of Benin student Uwavera Omozua are fished out and brought to justice.
I'm going back to Benin, and that will be the first assignment. We must track down the killers, because it's gruesome, it's sheer madness. This is one reason why I have decided to contest and ensure that we impose a state of order in Edo and get rid of criminal gangs, even if they're in our politics.
Edo State governorship election is scheduled for September 19th, 2020. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And activities for the conduct of the governorship election in Edo State begin today with the display of notice of election at the INEC website and the Edo State office of INEC, while party primaries start from Tuesday. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu disclosed this during an online consultative meeting with political party chairmen. He advised chairmen of political parties to conduct rancor-free primaries and adhere strictly to the deadline for the submission of candidates through online. Political parties were also informed that those conducting indirect primaries are to submit list of their delegates, while those adopting direct primary are to forward a register of members to enable INEC monitor the process. Meanwhile, following the death of a member in Zamfara State House of Assembly, the number of by-elections now stand at 10 and preparations are on for the conduct of the by-elections, the INEC chairman assured. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved implementation of the second phase of the national response to COVID-19 for the next 4 weeks, spanning 2nd to 29th of June 2020 and subject to review. Let's now join Mitari Ikpen for highlights of COVID-19 Presidential Task Force Monday's briefing.
While some restrictions are being lifted, others are sustained. Some of the restrictions lifted is that places of worship can now reopen based on PTF guidelines and protocols put in place by the state government. Also, domestic flights are to resume from the 21st of June with precautionary measures. Again, government offices can now resume from Mondays to Fridays between the hours of 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. On one hand, schools are to remain closed. On the other hand, worship places are to be open. What's the rationale for these new set of decisions?
When it comes to schools, it's a pragmatic decision. We are more concerned about those that are about to graduate or certify or move to the next level. And because we don't want that to impact, to affect the subsequent academic year, that's why we are trying to at least make some accommodation, and we've asked the Ministry of Education to come up with a policy and work with the schools. When it comes to religious places of worship, just to make it very clear, we are not opening up completely and normalizing things. It's still very restrictive. They have to abide by guidelines issued by PTF in terms of the non-pharmaceutical interventions, and the state governments will need to work with religious authorities to have a system that will enable us continue to protect our most vulnerable. Remember, who are those that go to religious institutions, places of worship? A lot of them are above the age of 60, and these are the people that are most at risk of severe illness. The message we want to send out is that even though people are talking about relaxing, this thing is far from over, because as you can see with the NCDC numbers that are coming up, we are far from reaching the peak of this epidemic.
And now join countries with more than 10,000 confirmed cases of coronavirus as Armenian Prime Minister tests positive for COVID-19. Adebola Brookston Sunday is here with global updates on coronavirus.
Despite testing positive for coronavirus without any symptom, Armenia Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan said his government is not considering a nationwide lockdown, but will continue to promote social distancing and other hygiene rules set out by health authorities. Armenia has lost 139 persons to COVID-19. Brazil has acknowledged the delivery of 2 million doses of hydroxychloroquine from the United States, while it expects 1,000 ventilators in few days. The drugs are to be used as a preventive measure to help defend Brazil's health workers against the virus and as a therapeutic. And at about 7 p.m. local time, tally from Johns Hopkins University shows that 6,300,873 persons have been infected by coronavirus globally. From this figure, 2,866,211 persons have recovered, while 374,537 people have died from complications related to the virus. On the dashboard of the Africa Center for Disease Control, the continent has now recorded 147,099 confirmed cases, 4,228 deaths, while 61,808 persons have recovered from the deadly virus. In Nigeria, 14 states and the Federal Capital Territory have added 307 positive cases of COVID-19 to the nation's tally, putting the total number of confirmed cases in the country at 10,162. Out of this number, Lagos contributed 188, the highest. Cumulatively, Lagos, Kano, Katsina, Oyo states and the Federal Capital Territory are at the top of the chart, while Taraba, Anambra, Abia, Benue and Kogi states remain at the bottom of the log. I am Adebola Brookslyn Sunday. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Adebola, for that update there. And with the new era of virtual conference as a result of COVID-19, Victim Support Fund has donated a multi-million naira virtual conference equipment to Nigerian Center for Disease Control to enhance its work. The equipment are installed at the NCDC head office in Abuja. Hamman Jabani reports.
We're going to have a meeting of 30, 40 people in one room. People out there connecting remotely won't be struggling to hear it. It's really, it was a working solution. There's no hassle with it.
The synergy by the two federal government organizations is based on what they both stands for, an effective national response system, and the virtual video conference equipment has no limit and is open-ended, aimed at providing a strategic communication system. Victim Support Fund Task Force on COVID-19, which was inaugurated by its chairman T.Y. Denjuma, is to drive its 1 billion naira intervention on the coronavirus pandemic, provide support to IDPs, agencies and organizations supporting the fight. Therefore, the donation to the major frontliner, Nigerian Center for Disease Control, is a welcome development.
The world will not be the same after this outbreak as far as public health is concerned, and we will have to engage a lot more using virtual equipment. So this is really exactly what we need at this point in time to be prepared for that new way of living, a new way of working, where you're constantly in touch with people without actually physically traveling.
The VSF Task Force on COVID-19 says it will continue to work towards the implementation of the second phase of the intervention in other parts of the country in order to reach as many vulnerable Nigerians as possible. Hamman Jabani, NTA News.
And joining me in the studio is the Chairperson Victim Support Fund COVID-19 Task Force, Toyosi Akerele Ogunseyi, to speak more on the effort to support the NCDC in containing the virus. Thanks for joining us in the studio.
Thank you very much for having me in the studio this evening.
All right, the Victim Support Fund Task Force was inaugurated in March. How has the intervention been under the first phase, and what are the main mandates of the fund?
Thank you very much. General T.Y. Denjuma, the chairman of the Victim Support Fund, inaugurated the task force on COVID-19 on the 30th of March 2020. Six-man task force led by myself being the chairperson, and our mandate is very simple: to be able to provide succor and support in terms of food, medical items and personal protective equipment to citizens across the country, especially because of the hardship and the difficulties that citizens are facing across different states of the country in the middle of the pandemic, given the challenges that businesses are having with operating at full speed, the importance of physical distancing, and the fact that a lot of people have actually lost their incomes. In addition to that, our mandate also focuses on ensuring that we support IDPs in the, internally displaced persons across the, communities in the Northeast, in the IDP camps and host communities in the Northeast, because that's exactly, that's precisely what the, key focus of the Victim Support Fund is. The Victim Support Fund, for the people who don't know, was created on the 30th of June 2014 as a national response strategy and the first private sector-led humanitarian initiative in the country to provide succor, economic empowerment, rehabilitation and resettlement for, destroyed communities in the Northeast by insurgencies and terrorism. So we're the victims of terrorism support fund. However, we understand that COVID-19 is not specifically permeating only communities within the Northeast. Provide support for citizens across the country, support public sector institutions, and ensure that we invest in risk communications, content so that we're able to empower citizens and arm them with the sort of information they need to make the right choices and the right sort of decisions around hygiene and around taking social distancing serious at this time.
Okay, we do apologize for loss of audio in the part of the interview there. All right, what exactly informed the donation to NCDC?
The National Center for Disease Control is perhaps the most important agency in Nigeria today. They're the ones who are saddled with the responsibility of, ensuring that we combat infectious diseases as a country. They're also the ones at the very epicenter of Nigeria's national response strategy around the COVID-19 pandemic. And data is very important at this time. Central intelligence gathering, communication, and central coordination across different states and local governments is very crucial for an agency like the NCDC. It's very difficult to travel because there are no flights and there's lockdown within the states, and so we thought it extremely important to support an agency like the NCDC to ensure that the central coordination mechanisms are not impeded by the fact that people cannot travel. It's also very judicious, and it's also for the judicious management of resources. Hitherto, you would have had people travel from different states or local governments to Abuja, sleep in hotels, rent conference rooms to have all these meetings. With the world-class, high-quality, top, conferencing and surveillance facility that the Victim Support Fund COVID-19 Task Force has donated to the National Center for Disease Control, what you have is meetings can happen remotely across different locations, and I think this is also our own way of kickstarting the digital transformation, an innovation system within Nigeria's public sector, beginning with the NCDC. We think that it's a lot of the decisions that are being made by both private and public sector institutions are driven by the data that the NCDC is releasing to the public every day, and it's important for the NCDC to be able to coordinate operations from the federal level here in Abuja to other states across the country, even to the local levels where we have the primary healthcare centers. And that's what informed our decision at the VSF here.
Thank you very much for giving us some insight on the Victim Support Fund there. Many thanks. All right, we take a break now. More reports in a moment when we return.
Welcome, dear. Have you washed your hands?
I'm inside my house again. This thing not the key black man.
I don't know if it's misinformation or poor hygiene that will kill you first. Coronavirus is real, and good hygiene practice will save your life. Anyway, no hand washing, no eating.
I will not take care of it. How's one of the parents? Coronavirus is real and it's on the rise. But you can help yourself and help others to be safe. Remember, we can stop the spread. It's in your hands.
This message is from the Akinfade Foundation in partnership with the National Orientation Agency with support from MacArthur Foundation.
Many thanks for staying tuned with us on the news. Now, Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning Zainab Ahmed says without the $5.5 billion external borrowing, implementation of the 2020 revised budget will not be feasible. The minister appeared before the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Debts to defend the proposed loan. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Onkwo reports.
Letter from Mr. President.
4 days after the Senate received President Muhammadu Buhari's request for foreign loan of $5.5 billion, its Committee on Local and Foreign Debts has met with the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, and Director General of Budget Office, Ben Akabweze, for parliamentary scrutiny. The minister gave a highlight of Nigeria's current debt profile.
As of 30th of December 2019, the total domestic debt stock was 18.378 trillion naira. As at the end of December last year, the total stock of the external debt was 9.022 trillion.
The minister listed the projects under this proposed borrowing. These include COVID-19 support fund of $600 million, strengthening of healthcare system, $125 million, and the establishment of comprehensive COVID-19 testing centers in all states of the Federation.
From the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, $3.4 billion US. This is a facility that has an interest rate of 1% and a tenure of 5 years with a grace period of 3 years.
The COVID-19 pandemic that's ravaging everywhere, I think we need to revise our budget, and the funding has to be provided.
The minister and her team also appeared before the Senate Committee on Finance, this time alongside the Accountant General of the Federation, Comptroller General of Nigerian Customs Service, Chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, and the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, where she briefed the committee on the rationale behind the revised medium-term expenditure framework 2020 to 2022 and fiscal strategy paper.
Are we saying that $25 is the appropriate figure, benchmark that should be used?
We wanted to be conservative and we projected a lower price for the whole year of $25 per barrel.
Why is Nigeria cost of production of a barrel of crude oil is the most expensive in the world?
Security is quite a huge chunk of the cost that we see, whether for the OPEX or for the CAPEX.
The minister also informed the committee that the federal government has cut down on expenditures of most of its ministries, departments and agencies. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
And the legislature is described as the bastion of democracy, and the House of Representatives takes nation building as a joint task force. This informed the resolve by the House members to build a robust partnership in the first 1 year of President Buhari's second tenure. Lami Ali reports.
I'm in love with the executive orders that he has issued. You know, that tells me that he wants to get governance in the right perspective.
In the last 1 year, in spite of the recent challenges that was brought up as a result of COVID-19, the economy is still running. There is an amendment bill to the budget that is brought to take into cognizance the realities of today.
The kudos I'm going to give to this government is that each time all these challenges they crop up, the government is always waiting at the other end to make sure that either to eliminate, mitigate or control.
Convinced by the sincerity of purpose of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration in growing the economy, building livelihoods and securing communities, House members across party lines decided to align with these aspirations by endorsing the policies and programs of government. House Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila has at every opportunity made it clear that a mutual relationship based on a shared ideology to sustain democratic culture is necessary for the benefits of all Nigerians.
This is a commitment that we made in our legislative agenda, and we will live up to this and all other commitments which we have freely made before God and the Nigerian people who have chosen us to represent them here in this hallowed chamber.
Nothing President Muhammadu Buhari brought to the National Assembly, to be precise, House of Representatives didn't go well. In 2 days, 3 days, we pass whatever he wants, and we have seen the result we are doing.
One area which House members are sometimes seen as foot soldiers of the president is their passion to support the fight against corruption. Appropriation as a core mandate of the legislature warranted an investigative hearing to enable the House know the whereabouts of trillions of naira of unspent budgeted funds at MDAs, some of which are allegedly unaccounted for.
All we are saying is there are allegations. Come and defend yourself in line with the principles of fair hearing. We have written to them. We have written to so many other government agencies, CBN, Akatanya, all of them. And we are getting documents. We are going to take evidence. And we have promised that this investigation is going to be free and fair.
Challenges pertaining to security, the economy and other areas of endeavor saw House members rising to the occasion by way of legislative intervention, which enabled this administration to make significant impact in the first 1 year of the second tenure. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
All Progressives Congress governors are in a meeting with the National Working Committee of the party. The governors arrived at the Secretariat at about 2 p.m. and went into a closed-door session as part of their strategic engagement to boost intra-party harmony ahead of governorship primaries in Edo and Ondo states. Saliu Abdullahi reports that in attendance are the Chairman Progressives Governors Forum, Atiku Bagudu of Kebbi State, Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State, Simon Lalong Plateau State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State, Mohammed Inua Gombe State, Abdullahi Umar Ganduje of Kano, Abdurrahman Abdul Razak of Kwara State, and Abubakar Badaru of Jigawa State. Thousands of vulnerable households across the nation are benefiting from palliative care from the Nigerian Navy, which says it is restructuring its corporate social responsibility in the light of the novel coronavirus pandemic. Correspondent Najat Tijani reports.
It's a bumpy ride in the rain to get to Kuje community, known for its agricultural produce, but now struggling even with the partial lockdown. 30-year-old mother of two, Christina, says her catering business, which depended on the cheap farm supplies, has suffered a setback.
Not been easy. There's no that food at home and all that. That is why I'm here.
It's the same scenario in Jiwa community, a few kilometers away. All this is about to change as the Nigerian Navy steps in.
We share in your pains, we share in your difficulties, and that is why we have come here to give you the little we have from the heart of our hearts. Permit me to also say that this initiative is also to support the federal government of Nigeria.
This palliative, it's will, but not as such. But thank God, because people that have nothing to eat today, tomorrow, this palliative will help them.
Beyond its target of reaching hundreds of vulnerable households, the Nigerian Navy says it will continue to evolve better community relations in addition to upgrading its maritime operations for better service delivery in this time of COVID-19. Najat Tijani, NTA News.
Many thanks, Najat Tijani, for that report. And that concludes the news at 7 on NTA International. I'm Comfort Amadou. Many thanks for watching.
This is NTA International.
For now, the best and most efficient way to avoid getting infected is through regular hygienic and sanitary practices, as well as social distancing. As individuals, we remain the greatest weapon to fight this pandemic. By washing our hands regularly with clean water and soap, disinfecting frequently,